one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
I think I gave you the paperwork on that.
Well, we can do this right away.
Yeah, oh, it's right here. You guys are having your open house?
Yes, Friday.
Nice article in the paper.
Very nice. Yes, it was. Yeah, we've had a lot of support. It's been nice.
I see another counties are doing that. Did you type this up or did you?
This is a copy of Hardin County.
Okay, I was gonna say, I got a bunch of examples.
Thank you, sir.
We got traffic jam going on behind you here.
Okay. Well, we'll get looking from both sides. Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we go ahead and approve the Class C native wine permit for 42 North Winery, LLC.
Second. Absolutely right. I just quit complaining, it don't matter. Just get tired of talking.
It's not. Get it? Got one right there.
I minimized all that too. I'm not publishing all that.
Good, good. You find it, Gary?
No. There was, quite a while to read them.
Alright, so I'm gonna minimize all that.
We jump to 9:05, Gary.
Yep.
Okay, continue looking.
Here. Which ones we got up first, Haley?
There's others. This resignation is
We knew at some point Darian was gonna get a full-time police job, which he has done. He's going to the city of Benton. And he has given his resignation.
Effective when?
28.
Well, I guess we acknowledge it, don't we? Yep, that's what we did.
All you can do is guess. Unless we can prevent him from resigning.
We could lock him-
we could lock him in jail and not let him leave.
Okay.
That's
I'll
fine.
take it. You got a motion then, Jake. You wanna second it?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor of accepting? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There you go.
With that resignation, that puts us,
I think there's another one.
that puts us 5, possibly 6 people, full-time people down in the
I
jail.
should put that one for Heather Baker. I sent to Nancy as well.
Let's do that one.
All right, I'll resend it to Nancy.
departments with other bakers.
But that's a common thread.
Yes. We've also discovered another common thread, and I'll turn it over to John.
We are losing the arms race for employing people right now. Just kind of an example. The Marion Police Department is offering a $9,000 hiring bonus to new hires. Lynn County Sheriff's Office, $10,000 bonus for new hires. Scott County, not only are they giving bonuses to new employees, they're giving bonuses for employees who refer someone else for hiring. What we're finding out is the jail is becoming critically understaffed, because starting out at $15.91 an hour part-time to work nights and weekends, when you could start at McDonald's for $15 an hour, and there's no incentive,
And there's no training involved.
The city of Belle Plaine, for their police officers, they bumped that up to what? Almost $30 an hour. And a hiring bonus.
They were able to hire 2 away from the jail in Blackhawk County. Independents hired some away from the jail in Blackhawk County.
Well, it is a sign of the times. I mean,
Yes.
this is, I'm afraid this may be something that's gonna hit us with secondary roads even.
Yeah.
You know, that we're gonna have to step up to the plate.
So
3% here, 3% there doesn't add up fast.
right. So our thought, the sheriff and my thought process was, if we could get kind of a moderate hiring bonus, figuring that $4,000 paid out after probation would kind of compensate for what if we had hired somebody full-time at the beginning and started paying them health insurance. The actual cost of the county would not be that significant, and it might help with our hiring. And we, in all fairness, we might have to come back to the board down in the future and say, we're not getting any bites, we need to raise our staff's pay in form of a bonus, maybe a little more. It's just, it's getting really hard for us right now.
Is Independence doing the sign-on bonus?
I don't know if the city of Independence is,
And you indicated Belle Plaine was,
yes.
and how much is theirs?
They bumped their wages up.
Oh, I know they did, they've
They had to.
really bumped.
And since we just finalized the contract in July, beginning of July, we really don't want to open up the contract again. So probably the easiest way to kind of boost that pay is in the form of some hiring bonuses. And I have spoken with Kirsten. Kirsten would require that we get a MOU with the union in agreement with the bonuses.
Are you looking for guidance?
Looking for permission.
I have no problem with it. You gotta get people to do the job.
We do. Unfortunately, right now, our jail staff is working 12-hour shifts because of
The shortage.
the shortage.
Yep.
We're working those people to death.
And you pay overtime for some and
Yep.
so
Correct.
I make up the difference.
What type of bonus you talking?
Because my wife, works where she was getting 50 to 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week. It's come back to haunt them now, even though she did that months ago because they were short. It's gonna haunt them. She didn't get the stuff done that she wanted to at home back then, and now it's.
Join
just-
Scott County's for their
You know, my concern is, yes, this is a good place to start, I get that. But in order to compete with the market, unfortunately, you may have to look at opening that contract, union contract, and looking at the wages, et cetera.
We definitely might have to, since it's a 3-year contract, and a lot is gonna change in 3 years.
Well, just the difference between Belle Plaine and your office per hour.
Yeah.
So when I visited with the mayor and he was telling me this, yeah,
Well, obviously, the sheriff's department isn't, it's not a job you can walk in off the street and get. You gotta have training for it. And we gotta have officers, we just got it.
you have the money in your budget to cover some of this?
Through the healthcare, yeah.
I'll make the motion that we allow them to try this.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I should ask, what's your time frame on this? Scott County has a time frame in their handout. What's gonna be your time frame?
At least until we get our full-time positions filled. And once we get all our full-time positions filled, then we obviously won't have the need to hire anyone else.
So it could be anywhere from 30 days to 3 years.
Correct. We're definitely not creating any new positions. We're just trying to fill our open positions.
Have you had an ad out already?
We-
Advertising?
We've had the correctional officer and 911 dispatcher positions have been constantly open for the last 2 years. If you look at the county website or the bulletin board, it's an open posting.
Central Iowa Juvenile Detention up there in Eldora, they have the same problem. Retaining and attracting.
The Lynn County Juvenile Detention Center is the same way. They've had to almost shut it down because they don't have staff.
Okay. You have permission on that one, now what's the second amendment sanctuary about?
That's just I'll give Dave a copy here. That's a resolution to look at, to see if you're interested in doing that.
It basically, in a nutshell, states that we support the Second Amendment.
So moved.
Really, without any discussion? Are you kidding me?
I read it.
You did? He just handed it to you. I was watching you too.
I read it.
You read the whole thing? Tell me what it says. Without looking at it, tell me what it says.
It's a resolution to allow.
That's funny. You do your job the way you want to, but that is ridiculous. Have you run it by anyone else? Have you talked to the county attorney's office? Have you talked to Heartland Insurance? Have you thought about how it might impact other county policies and other county resolutions? So moved? That's a joke, sir. And a bad one at that.
In all fairness to Gary, you know, when
I have read this.
the gentleman came in, they
And you talked to
handed-
Heartland? I'm sorry. You talked to Heartland, and you talked to the county attorney's office, and you considered what other county policies and resolutions it might affect.
I'll tell you what, if
You're
in
telling
fact
me no?
we're not allowed to carry firearms,
You tell me no, because you haven't talked to Heartland, right? You haven't talked to my office, right? And you haven't answered as to whether or not you consider other county policies and resolutions that may affect. That's okay. You made a motion. Perhaps it'll be seconded and it'll be voted on here today without considering anything else.
in light that this was just handed to the county attorney, I'd recommend he looks it over.
Because the county attorney hasn't read it.
I would also state that I can email a copy of this to Heartland and have them look at that as per county attorney's recommendation. Sheriff, this is adopted from what other counties?
That copy is from Hardin County.
Hardin?
That was brought to the board just to look at, and then we would need to do our homework on it.
Hardin County is also a member of Heartland Insurance Risk Pool.
No offense, but why wouldn't we do our homework on it first before we bring it into the boardroom? We'll just hand it out and have an automatic motion to approve it. Is that how we're doing business these days?
Just up for discussion, David.
Well,
If you look at the,
yeah, and then I heard a motion to approve.
And under discussion, I don't know that it was prudent because it doesn't have to approve or act on in the minutes, so.
And while we're at it, we got a whole lot of other rights out there. We're gonna adopt some resolutions to support those too. How about religious freedom? We're gonna have a resolution for that next week. Free speech, the right to vote, got all kinds of them out there.
You will look it over though.
I guess I will. I'd like a little bit of time to look it over.
And I'll need some time to get it answer back to Marlene. So
Gary, you look like you got something you wanna say. I'd love to hear it.
we need to put this on, table it.
Yep.
For
Well, it
later.
doesn't actually have a name.
Exactly, okay. So, all right. Any other counties that you're aware of
There's 11 so far,
that have approved it?
in some form,
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right.
as of a couple days.
Sure.
Are you advocating that we do not allow firearms?
Well, I'm sorry, that is a crazy question. What authority do you have as a board member to go against a constitutional amendment, the Second Amendment? And so therefore, are you gonna go ahead and, start doing resolutions every week supporting other laws and constitutional rights that are already on the books? Or just this one? Cause you read it. You given any thought to how it affects your resolution concerning firearms in county buildings? No. You haven't? I'll look at it.
Thank you.
My objection, by the way, isn't to this per se, is how we're proceeding with stuff like this.
Claims?
Claim.
I didn't have any questions.
Any question on the claim?
Make a motion that we approve the claims. I should ask, do you have any?
No.
Okay, cool.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On the claim. Aye. Okay, discuss and approve resolution modifying exclusive coverage of Heartland Insurance Risk Pool.
That's the one you had Julie behind you.
Yes. David, have you seen a copy of this, resolution? This is basically protects, employees in case there's any.
I have not seen it, but I'm aware with the election law changes that you can make a simple error in judgment, and then all of a sudden someone thinks you owe $10,000 or whatever it is. So is this, so Heartland will provide that coverage?
400,000.
I haven't seen it, I'd love to look at it, but I'm sure it's fine. Did it come from Heartland?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure it's fine. If you want me to look at it, I certainly will.
And Carl had, gone through it. This is his recommendation. So it's prudent that we back our employees,
Oh, that's the
you
original.
know.
No, I agree.
It's,
I agree.
you know, it's too bad that a simple, honest mistake could cost an individual tens of thousands of dollars in court fees.
Or maybe we should have a resolution next week ready saying we object to that law change. And then start commenting on laws and such. You need to realize that's part of the Board of Supervisors.
Would you
duty.
like to review this? Would you put it on for next week? I mean, there's no,
Actually, if you want to do a couple other things, I can probably review it right here.
okay, sweet. So we can come back to it.
Report.
You don't wanna do the,
All minutes?
I heard the minute,
I
Eric,
couldn't find it. I know it's in there.
is the
All of
typo or what was it?
Yeah.
I'll look through them again. Gina wrote on mine, he
Yeah.
just read them.
Says we never done it.
No, we didn't, because he was looking for another typo or something.
okay, you couldn't find it?
But I'll skim through them, read them again before I
Yeah,
send them.
I've looked twice.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as corrected.
Put the doors. open.
Correct.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes
Aye.
with
Aye.
corrections?
I had that checked off.
No, he didn't second it.
Okay, now any reports?
I'll give a partial report and then I'm gonna come back to it at the end of our meeting. Okay. Heartland Insurance, Judy Funk is resigning. Retiring, I should put it, not resigning, retiring. There is a difference. Same outcome, but she is retiring. And so, they're looking for a replacement. We have 2 applicants, and it's gone before a committee to review those applicants and hold interviews. Then they'll make a recommendation to the rest of us on the following meeting. As we know, the Delta variant, I think as it's called, is that correct? And, with that being so active, it has affected the meeting that we normally have, the annual meeting, which would have been last week, but we had a board meeting instead. So it boils down to harassment training. How are we gonna do that? Doing it in person, in a large group, the way we've done it in the past, it's pretty tough with the COVID thing ramping up again. So, the harassment training may be done online, where we sign in, or it may be literature, you know, but this is something we're gonna have to look at. How do we wanna handle it? We need to make it happen. Don't believe we did much of that last year, did we? And so we kind of slipped. It's
And
gonna
then having things set up for the remoting.
Correct, but there is some information out there, and when I send this resolution to Heartland, I'll ask if they've come up with something yet. There may be some, well, it's gonna have to be online type training. And if somebody doesn't have access to a computer, it's gonna have to be, you know, literature that they take. So we'll cross that bridge. There's one other thing that I will visit about at the end of the meeting, and that has to do with, unfortunately, the presidential mandate of vaccinating employees. So I'll come back to that, because it could get lengthy. Okay? And I know you get a 9:30 and a 9:45.
I think Stuart's outside.
You have anything?
Stuart's outside.
I think so.
Stewart's?
Wanna holler at him?
I don't have a problem with this resolution.
Okay.
I didn't figure I would.
You guys. So we can come back to item 6.
Good morning. Hello. I'm Stuart Tao. I'm Township Clerk down in Florence. This is Jim Hamasaw. He's trustee. We won't take a lot of your time, but tell you what we've got going on. We've got a 1995 truck, humper truck, fire truck we'd like to replace. Getting 26 years old. Everything works on it real good, but we'd like to upgrade it to a newer one. And this is how we're gonna do it. This is how we're gonna pay for it. Okay, the Norway Fire Department, they have $53,794 in their account. And that's money they received from donations. It's money they received from, like they have breakfast a couple times a year. So taxpayer money, this is money that they've accumulated. Okay, now our township, as of June 1st, had $288,334. And that's in CDs, checking, savings. So a total, that brings us to $342,192. Okay, this is how we're gonna pay for it. New truck, it's towed, it's a pump truck, and around $400,000. And we'd like to spend on that $342,129, we'd like to spend $250,000 on that. And then that would leave us $92,128 for reserve in case, who knows what happens, motors go bad. So that would be our reserve. Okay, here's the real fun part. This is how it's $150,000 we need. But we're hoping we can get $40,000 for that emergency service equipment gift agreement. And then we'd like to borrow $110,000 from the county. Right, yeah, right. That's how much is it?
The revolving loan fund, I think it's 127.
We were here once before, I think in 2010. That's the last time.
Yep, here the last year we did that.
We paid it off. That's good. And then there's another $25,000 on top of what the numbers I gave you for people who are paying their taxes now. We get about $50,000 a year from our tax base. So we should be able to pay that. It's possible.
Do you remember how long we spread that out last time?
Well, the fire department's worked it out 5 years, 8 years, or 10 years. We do a 5-year loan, and they did, at 3%. Okay, at 3%. 5 years, our payments be $28,386. 8 years, it's $18,519. 10 years, it's $15,239.
That puts time frame.
How long did you take last time?
5 years? 3 or 5. It didn't seem very long. We had a pay.
Are you comfortable with that?
And then the interest rates kind of go off the loan rates. That might be.
Interest rate, they could probably use all
We could probably go through the company or we buy a fire truck from, then we'll soon.
We got a bond and a whole bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, just soon go through the company, like see the last one. It was simple, sweet simple.
We could do it from the last minute too, we would need time to pick one time.
Well, then I think that motion that we do it to give.
I don't know how soon
10%.
you're wanting to purchase.
Yeah, we don't need it yet.
Okay.
We'd like to order it before you, because of course they're going to say it's going to go up. And then we may need to hold off on that.
Yeah, but I think you could do once you guys show the invoice, you
But then you just never know, there just might be a shortage of something.
Nothing's for sure these days.
Well,
Chip or something.
I guess basically what you're looking for is a commitment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a problem. What are you gonna do with the old truck?
Well, we'd like to sell it, and we think it's worth around $20,000. But that $20,000 is just icing on the cake. It's not in any of these numbers
Right.
that we gave you this morning. It's just,
You never know. Somebody's gotta be interested in it.
Well,
It's not
everything
sure.
still works on it. It's a good truck.
It could go
It's like
back to your loan that you're,
We could.
What's that?
it could be
Oh,
applied
yeah.
towards.
Oh, definitely.
We just gotta get from point A to point B. It's about a 10-year revolving thing. We got build up funds for 5 years and have that much on hand, and then we don't have to borrow very much. In 5 years, we usually have it paid off. So 10 years is about equipment. You know, the fire department's pretty good about giving us what their needs are.
The fire department, we very seldom give them any money.
Right.
They don't need any money.
They do pretty well at getting their own stuff, so it allows us. And I don't know if you're familiar with our situation in township down there, but the city of Norway houses it. They have the fire department. That's their input from it. We, township, we've got an agreement that's how old, 60 years old, and we're bound by it. We have to keep equipment.
We pay for the equipment, the town pays for the building, the insurance on the fire hydrants.
Yes. So,
I don't have any problems, you know, giving them a commitment for the lost revenue funds, as well as the commitment that we would work out the information on a loan for 5 years. 5 years at a lower rate of interest, I mean, they're gonna get more on that principal. So, and that seems to be what they had last time, and they're comfortable with it. So.
yeah, if you go on to look back, it's similar to what we had last time would be perfect with us.
Sure.
You know, so I'm sure history would show
You think
what
it was in 10, right? I can't remember finding an old resolution on that.
yeah. I mean, that worked.
Yeah.
Other than the interest rate, probably lower. Don't
Yeah,
match
it's not
what we
very
had.
high right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You can base that on, I mean,
Yeah.
that's your.
So really can't take any formal action because we don't know the dollar figure
No.
at this
What,
point in
what
time.
could we get them interest for? Less than 1%?
I think it was like 0.54 was what we were getting on our ARP money. It's not huge.
So if we would loan money out at the same interest rate as what we're getting other places.
We need to find out anywhere for that road too, for that special assessment.
I was just gonna say, we've got this road south of town that, you know,
And
is under a
we need to
special
do what we gotta
assessment.
do on that too, so
Yep.
we're gonna have to try to get estimates from the banks.
Right.
We're all in favor
I
for it.
think
so
you
great.
can count on
Continue
ourselves.
on. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate you getting us on these.
Figures down, you know,
Okay.
on paper, solid.
Invoices for sure.
Okay.
And
Alrighty.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll go back to item 6.
Yeah.
Well, after it's been reviewed by the county attorney, I would make a motion that we approve this resolution 21-7. Modifying exclusively exclusionary coverage of Heartland Insurance risk pool policies to provide coverage for civil technical infractions.
second,
Resolution,
Primer aye.
here's Hank I.
Seaman, aye.
I think we're having a meeting with Carl in October on that too.
Good.
All the
I mean, you put a lot of work into this,
Yeah.
so it's one of those that,
Because I think at one
you
time.
wouldn't want your job without this coverage.
The other pool that all the other counties have, at one time, I think they said no at first, but I think they're changing their mind.
Yeah,
Pretty sure it's a couple counties, Secretary of State's.
the new or old business? We got a few minutes here before David takes over. We're gonna get moving on this.
Concrete,
Yeah,
you say we are or we need to?
we need to.
Yes, we need to for sure.
We're gonna start getting,
And I did put that in the minutes.
We got a concrete or asphalt?
oh, that was my next question.
You're gonna for sure do the sidewalk approach over there, right?
We're at,
Transportation.
that's done, Dyer,
When did you do that one?
2 weeks ago,
Oh, okay.
that's done. We okayed it. That's
Oh, it was on the last one?
$900, yeah.
I thought there was more, because he put something in his,
For the approaches and all
that's
that,
what I was talking about.
that I'm not worried
Okay.
about.
Part of the parking lot's gonna be on the west side of the building though, as well.
Okay.
So that needs to be handled.
What is the cost for cement and or asphalt?
I don't know that concrete has gone up significantly
It
like a
hasn't.
lot of other building materials
It
have.
hasn't. It's, you know, most generally it's $4 a square foot for concrete.
Which includes labor.
Yeah.
So,
Asphalt, I don't know about, because there was a guy, a crew down from Independence was in my neighbor's yard. They gave me their card, and I like to, you know, just have them come and throw an estimate out, what would it cost, so I could compare concrete to asphalt, so, you know what I mean? Concrete will last longer, of course.
well, and that's the whole thing. I mean, I would prefer that when we do this, that, you know, we get the best bang for our buck.
And you have to decide how thick you want it and all that.
Right, and see, it like asphalt, you know, they could come in, they could whip this out in a day, he'd be done and out of here.
Very true.
Concrete takes some forming and stuff.
Will they fix the potholes before they do that? Like,
He would level them off, and then they, you know,
seems like it keeps-
yep,
I would be more in favor of seeing it with concrete, to be very honest. I know that, Ben, before he left, had done some initial engineering out here. As long as we don't go around to the front, the east side of the building, and mess with parking areas out there, then we don't change the handicap ramp. If we go out to that frontage and start messing with things, sidewalk, et cetera, that's gonna change that whole dynamics. And I don't think we wanna open that can. So, I think we should be looking here. Do you have people you work with?
I do,
In the
but
concrete.
technically, as much dollars you're talking, you're gonna have to open it up.
Totally get that, yeah. Totally understand.
If it's over 100, you're gonna take close.
I'm afraid by the time you throw in that east side, you're definitely gonna be over 100.
West side.
West side, I'm sorry.
If you're doing it all at once, you know,
And as we're over here on the west side, we need to look at that area where they unload the trucks for, you know, the food pantry. And make sure that's heavy enough concrete, thick enough to stand the trucks.
Yeah, I guess my feelings was, I was just worried about this out here.
Yes, but this is, if we can do this as part of that spend down money for mental health,
Remember to do a portion, so.
I get that. Yeah, plus we also get a portion back over a course of 10 years from the
Yeah,
state.
So if we change that, we need to let you know right away too.
Yeah.
So you're budgeting for that whole amount.
How about let me get some prices by next Tuesday?
Okay.
Let's put it on the agenda. I don't know how to word it. We're not gonna take, maybe putting an ad in.
Are you just gonna get an estimate? Or,
Estimate.
and then you're going to advertise for,
Yeah.
the-
Well, I'll see what the estimate is. She says it's under 100,000.
For our procurement policy, you gotta follow that, but yeah. getting estimates approving.
Just estimate and then maybe advertising. Okay? Got it?
Otherwise, we're gonna have to get an engineer on it.
We got hose on our pad in our cabin, $10,000 for 4 foot by, it's not much compared to our shop with $6,000.
Okay, David.
What would you like to do first?
Do the easy one, Megan Hall.
Megan was hired in that gray zone between being a licensed attorney and she has passed her bar exam. So we hired her and put her to work under the Supreme Court rules that said we could. She passed her bar exam, which we believed and knew that she would. And under her contract, her salary is to go to $75,000, retroactive to the date she received the notification and provided it to us, which was September 9th of this month.
You need a motion to approve that?
Yes, I do. Well, appointed approved by the board of supervisors, Benton County, the 16th day of September.
Might have to change that 16th. I thought we changed the others.
16th, you got it there.
Okay, we can cross that out.
With 21?
Yep.
Want to do it?
But it's retroactive to the 9th.
Right. We didn't think you wanted to come in Thursday meeting.
I'm not far away. Make the motion. I started in.
Second.
Okay, by resolution.
Primer, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Tina, aye. I'll let you adjust these on all the way through here. You got 16th Street, 200. How about, you wanna make a new one, or I'll just sign this one?
Just a second. I think. No, we have that one at the office and turned it in this morning to you guys. No, it's okay, because I signed it up there on the 16th. Okay. She's out there down there. That's fine. We had changed the date below because we didn't have her sign it till this morning.
Okay. Got it. All right. Next thing.
Courthouse clock is in need of some guidance and assistance. And we're not 100% sure what is wrong with it, other than we know it's running really fast, which is unusual. And also it's, the bell strike mechanism isn't currently operational. We had a meeting last Thursday evening between the clock committee, which was an informal group that was created at the time of the restoration, which I believe we started that back in 2014. And we also had, said it was a joint meeting, and the other part of the joint was the Benton County Historical Preservation Commission. Everybody was unanimous in their agreement that we should ask Rory Demisi, who is well known in the area of mechanical clock repair, courthouse tower clocks and such, the Twin Cities, to come in and give us an estimate as to what he thinks it needs. He has indicated to me he's available sometime in October to come down. $500. That doesn't guarantee that everything will be fixed for $500, but that's his fee to come down, spend a day, look at it, give us an estimate. We think that's reasonable. Mr. Demisi, as I've said, is highly regarded in this area, and he's worked on numerous courthouse clocks and other tower clocks in the state of Iowa. So we would ask for permission to bring him down to do that.
Now he's from,
Twin Cities, Minnesota.
and you do have money in an account, is that correct? The committee, not you, but the committee has.
In a fund,
Yeah.
auditor's office is maintained, there's just a little bit more than $3,000, something like that. That's left over from the fundraising.
Is there any, which is, I presume you'd take this from that?
We would, the only thing I would mention is I believe Gina had said something to Lori in my office that there may not be spending authority for that fund. That I don't know about. I know that the money's there, and we've dipped into it before to do a little bit of maintenance.
It's committed, but I can look real quick at this thing.
Where does the money come from in that fund?
It was created a special revenue fund years ago when it was a checkbook from the historic preservation.
It was actual donations. We had a clock committee that raised money, we obtained grants, and we also, I want to say we raised somewhere between 15,000 to 18,000 in private funds. It's what's left over from the donations to go to the clock in the first place.
So it's in the special account just for that purpose.
It would be my expectation that if we could use that money, that that's the money that we draw from.
Which makes sense.
Otherwise, I would regard it as another item of courthouse maintenance.
I had heard that there's some strings attached with a grant for that clock. Is that correct as far
Yeah,
as?
the big grant we received was from the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs. My recollection, I haven't studied it recently, but my recollection is part of that grant process is we have to agree to maintain it in working order for a decade. So we're not at a decade yet. We're probably at the 6-year mark.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably halfway-ish.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, there's spending authority in there.
Good.
Needs to be fixed regardless.
So, and again, this Rory Demisi is seems to be pretty excellent, quite frankly.
So,
Did they update the works in that, or is that still the old clockwork?
Well, it's what was left of our clock, but our clock had been cannibalized because at some point it had been turned into an electrical clock. So it had different parts and gears that were no longer needed that were pulled off of it, and then they disappeared. And so then those gears had to be either recreated or found off of another clock. I suspect that they were found off of another clock.
so it is mechanical now?
It's completely mechanical. Before it had been mechanical for the vast majority of its life, and then sometime in the late 60s, early 70s, it was switched over to an electrical movement that was up there, and things disappeared off of the movement at that time. Different gears and such that were no longer needed, might have been in the way, perhaps. The weights, because it's a weight-driven clock, those all disappeared.
So the $500 is basically to do an assessment. Do you need a motion that would allow you to go above that, but not beyond what's in the clock fund?
Well,
In case
what
repairs need to be
What
made?
Mr. Demisi has said, and I want to be careful because I don't want to say too much in this setting. If it's something that's quick, he doesn't try to make, multiple trips. He brings down a truck full of equipment and he'll have some parts with him. If it's something he can fix on the site, he'll do it, and maybe his bill ends up being a little bit more than that. I'm not worried about that because who else do we know that knows how to work on these clocks? That's kind of a lost art.
I didn't want to just put a cap at the 500.
But it's also, there's also a decent sized chance it's gonna need something a little bit more than just him, coming down and looking at it.
So a motion to have it assessed and repaired
That'd be great.
is without putting that dollar figure in there, the 500 in there.
That's fine. Just so you're aware, I wouldn't, if he came down and said, yeah, I can get her fixed, but it's gonna be $5,000, I'm not gonna agree to that without coming back with something in writing from him to the board. Or if he says, $1,500, whatever.
I'll make that motion, that we have it assessed and repaired.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
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 the courthouse maintenance as part, when they go up and wind the clock every day?
We had permission, it originally it's a, what they call an 8-day movement, similar to, 8-day movements you might have in your house. You can wind it, and it's good for a little over a week. And so if you go up there to where the actual clock mechanism is, and the weights used to drop 3 stories. When we redid the clock, we received permission from the state. You could imagine how maybe a maintenance person didn't want to go up there once a week and wind 160 pounds of weight, I think, are on the one side and 200 on the other. Also, we couldn't let the weights drop down the 3 stories anymore without doing some modification to the windows that were put in. If you go up there on the north side of the tower, in each corner, there's a rectangular hole cut, and we have that those weights would drop through. And we've used those holes for wiring conduit, and the windows stick out. And so the way we resolved that was, and we obtained permission from the state, we have an automatic winder set on, I believe it's set on a timer. So as those weights drop, they only drop about 7 foot, then they automatically get rewound to start the process again. And the custodians, I think, were quite in favor of that. That meant they didn't have to go up there and crank. Plus, we would have had to do some serious modifications to get stuff out of the way if we wanted to go back to the true original way that it was.
I recall that stairwell going up there is kind of a challenge too.
Back in the day, because those windows, that's I think the second set of windows that are up there. But I think the first set weren't put in until sometime in maybe the late 70s. Back in the day, you used to have to go up there once a week. You can imagine in the wintertime with no windows up there. And then that last stint of the climb is the metal ladder that's set into the wall. That could have been quite cold and icy, and probably just not a whole lot of fun.
Let's go on another tour.
Anything else, David?
Nope.
Well, sir, unless you have something, I would like to finish the rest of my report. Okay. Part of the Heartland risk pool conversations had to revolved around the President Biden's mandate of any employer over 100 employees or more would be required to have their employees vaccinated, and if those employees chose not to be vaccinated, they would have to provide at least once a week a negative sample of testing to show that they were not infected by
Is that in
COVID.
the private sector though? On this OSHA thing, we got the private sector.
Well, according to the information that I was given, and I'm going to pass stuff around to everybody, if I may, because, well, I talked to one person in the courthouse, and I was going to have this on the agenda, and that was late on Friday, and suddenly Saturday, I started getting emails. I know you guys got emails as well. I have Facebook messages, etc. And, basically stating that we're not looking out for the interest of our citizens. That is the furthest thing from the truth that I've ever seen. We are looking out for their best interest. I'm going to give everybody things that I got from Heartland. Some of this is so new that I haven't been able to digest it all, and I brought extra copies, guys. Wasn't sure who'd be here, so I brought extra copies. In that copy, This is the employer COVID-19 vaccine mandate. And if you start reading this, the things, I did do some highlighting here. Item 3 says, counties that have received federal funding from the CARES Act. I don't know how much funding we got from the CARES Act, but the Sheriff's Office got it. I believe Scott Hansen, Civil Defense, has gotten that. The courthouse has gotten it. So there's several $100,000 there from the CARES Act. And the American Rescue Plan, which, if I'm correct, that's 4.9 million. Okay, so our county has received both of those. And it goes in item 4, would counties as employers be subject to the impending rule from OSHA with employers with 100 employees? And it shows item 5 that Iowa is one of the states that follows the OSHA approved state plans. And so it gives a website there. I went to that website and it said the Iowa state plan also applies to state and local government employers. With that said, it looks like we have to do something with, we have to keep an eye on this, is what we have to do. But Heartland stated they will keep us abreast of this if there's anything that comes down the pipe. Well, this morning, I've gotten this came in an email. So, I'm not trying to say what's right, what's wrong, etc. I don't think we want to pay back almost $5 million. We haven't got it all yet. But, it is a possibility. This plan, the things that I pointed out here, this is Workplace Safety Environmental Law Alert blog. According to the information I had, they had until September 17th to come out with a plan. That was last Friday. They came out with a plan. There's a vaccine policy playbook that I printed off. And I'm going to make sure the auditor's office has. I'm not stating that I'm in favor of any of this, guys. Not at all. What I'm stating is Heartland will keep us informed as to what's going to happen. In my email this morning from Heartland, Nathan Berry, said information on COVID policy and current temporary standard. Nothing is official with the standard, and I would not expect anything to be official for at least 3 to 6 months. Well, you guys now know what I know. If this is shoved down our throats, it's not going to be pretty. I think my emails and Facebook has been, blowing up. I'm not a bad guy here. I just put it on the agenda to make everybody aware. I'm not in support one way or another on this thing.
You kind of looks like a bad guy.
I know.
I don't know, but I didn't know about it until yesterday morning, so.
So I called yesterday morning and took it off the agenda because I sure didn't think we wanted to have a house full here on something that, first of all, we know very little about. Second of all, we have really not a lot of control over it. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. There's a lot of, kind of like an old wives' tale, stories going on out there. I was visiting with one fellow while renting a unit, storage unit. And I said, I didn't have a mask on, neither did he. I said, but I've been vaccinated. He said, well, I haven't, and I'm not gonna get it. I said, what? You're afraid they're gonna track you? Who knows what they're gonna put in that shot? We all own a cell phone. You wanna be tracked by the government? Do something illegal, I bet you your office can find out exactly what went on through this thing. So, the idea of tracking, or the fact, either you came up in some of my correspondence over the weekend, I've been vaccinated and I leak vaccinations and it affects people that aren't vaccinated. Come on. Maybe truth to it, I don't know. So, we haven't heard the last of this, guys. This is part of the Heartland report. You got the information, you need to read up on it because, I don't know how the hell we're gonna pay for your towers other than a bond issue if we can't take that money because we say we're not gonna comply. And that's gonna affect the taxpayers on their property tax. I was even in the emails this weekend, after all, we forced the mask mandate. No, we didn't. The Iowa Supreme Court did. So, yeah. There we got it, guys. I'm sure
We
I'll
also
get
had some early on some masking mandates or rules from the governor as well.
True. And I think this is what a lot of it's waiting for, to see what Governor Reynolds is gonna have us do with OSHA, whether or not they're gonna force it. There's a lot of government funding, state and federal. One person said, so what if we don't have one more bridge? Well, it depends. Is it your bridge or your bridge to get to your house? I don't have any bridges to get to my house. So,
The whole thing is, federal government's so far in debt that it ain't gonna matter in a few years.
well, it doesn't matter how far they are in debt. What matters is this $2.9 million check that we got. You wanna give it back? I don't. Do I wanna piss people off? No. And I said that, it's on Facebook. Oh well. But we're trying to stay on top of it. Heartland's trying to stay on top of it, and we'll advise counties of what to do. Following that, unless you've got other comments, make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.